Hey guys, today I'm gonna review Heart of Iron by Ashley Posten. I received an arc of this through Edelweiss and it's coming out on February 27th. Heart of Iron is a YA science fiction and I don't think that it has been announced that this is gonna be a series, but if you read the first book you can clearly tell that there's gonna be more to this story. So I definitely think that you should go into this book expecting to read the first book in a series. The kind of basic plot of this one is definitely completed, but it does end on a little bit of a cliffhanger and the whole world conflict is definitely not resolved at the end of it. So this novel is basically described as Anastasia in space and that's definitely super accurate. Although I have to say after reading the novel I'm not quite sure how I feel about that description because it does take away a lot of the plot points and it definitely makes a lot of it very predictable and very obvious, and I just overall almost wished I had not known the story about Anastasia going into this, or I had not known that this was basically a retelling of Anastasia. While Anna is our main character, it is told from a couple of different point of views and always has pretty short chapters, so it switches between these points of views very, very quickly. I'm not gonna say anything else about the plot because I went into it not knowing anything more about it, and I don't think you have to. If you're not familiar with Anastasia, I'm not sure if I would recommend looking up that story because, as I said, on the one hand, I feel like it definitely took away a lot of the plot points. On the other hand, I'm not sure if the story just gets more confusing. If you don't know anything about it, I can't really judge that. It does have a lot of point of view, so that might definitely be an issue. So I was super, super excited to read Heart of Iron. I was so happy that I got an arc of it, and I loved Geekerella by Ashley Posten, so I was just super excited to see what she would do with this science fiction story, especially because I was really excited about this kind of fictional science fiction story in Geekerella. I thought that was really, really interesting. So I was really expecting a lot, and I have to say I ended up being disappointed, and that is definitely a lot due to my own expectations. I don't think the book is bad in any way. I just found most of it boring and mediocre, and so I ultimately just was disappointed because I was expecting a lot more from it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. As I said, not a bad book at all, but these 3 stars make me incredibly sad because I think there was a lot more potential. My favorite part of this novel and what was able to make me push through, even though I did think about DNFing it a couple of times, were definitely the characters. The characters were great. I really appreciated all of them. There is some diversity in it. There is a female-female couple in there and also the development of a male-male couple, and I enjoyed just in general all the different dynamics between the characters. I enjoyed the different romances we saw, or the developments of these kinds of relationships. I really enjoyed the friendship, and this had also a huge found family theme, which was for sure my favorite part. Apparently I'm just really finding found family themes really amazing right now because that was definitely the only part that really kind of emotionally got me in this story, which, knowing me, is definitely unexpected for me to find a found family emotional, but not really any of the romantic plots or just the general plot. So while I really enjoyed the found family theme and thought it was a great part, it also made me realize how uninvested I was in the rest of it. The characters are really the only thing that I can kind of positively highlight about this. Now, there's nothing that I can say that is super negative. There's just everything else kind of being neutral. I think that the world building had potential, but really wasn't that interesting to me. There's not really much more I want to find out about this world or want to know about. The plot was pretty boring. I just did not feel very engaged with this novel overall. As I said, the characters were the only thing that kind of kept me reading, and it took me forever to read this book, really probably over 2 weeks to read this book, and that's just really something that rarely ever happens to me anymore because really normally I find something that makes me want to keep reading, and so I find time everywhere to read. And Heart of Iron didn't really make me want to pick it up a lot of the times. And at the end, I really just pushed through, and I was on a really long bus ride, so I didn't really have anything else to do. I'm really not sure if I would have finished it otherwise. And as I said, it's not because it's bad, it's just because it's boring. I just didn't really think I was interested in knowing how the story would continue or even what would happen to the characters. Even though I liked them, I realized I didn't really care much about what happened to them, and I realized that throughout the story that there were a lot of like tragic, sad, emotional things happening, and I didn't really care. Saying that as a person who is always incredibly emotional while reading, that was just sad to realize, and so I just ended up being, I think, mostly disappointed by that. I think that I was not able to get emotionally invested. That was just not great. I don't like that because I'm here for the emotional investment. So I think that's what made me so disappointed with this, and this is also why, even though I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, I still feel worse about it than these 3 stars, if that makes any sense. So it's kind of the difference between a subjective feeling that is just no emotional investment and the objective feeling of knowing that nothing about this book is bad. It's just not what I wanted from it. I also thought, as I said, that a lot of the plot was very predictable, and as I said, it is down to it being a retelling of Anastasia basically, but I thought even the things that weren't really related to the Anastasia storyline were pretty predictable. So I thought that was just sad. Like, there were a couple of twists at the end that I thought were interesting, but at that point I was already so like far off from liking it or loving it that I didn't even really care about that anymore. Another huge issue I had was that I thought the villain was boring, and you know I love villains, so if I think the villain is boring, that's definitely a bad sign as well, and that makes it very hard for me to enjoy the book. So yeah, overall I think that's actually all that I can say. I don't even want to make this too long, and I couldn't really say I recommend it or not recommend it. These are just really like super subjective feelings that I had about this book. As I said, nothing bad about it, but I just don't think that it was able to live up to its potential. I definitely think it had a lot more potential, and it wasn't really able for me to deliver. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about it. I would absolutely love to know your thoughts about Heart of Iron. I know a lot of people are excited to pick it up, and I know a lot of people have asked. So if you have already read it, or if you're watching this video after release, I would absolutely love to know your thoughts on Heart of Iron, and I'm really, really happy for you if you loved it, if you enjoyed it. If you have not yet read the book, I would love to know if you are planning on reading it. Please don't feel discouraged by this review. If you are really excited for this book, I think you should still definitely pick it up. And yeah, just let me know any kind of thoughts down below, and thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!